Thursday or something. I don't have the voice. I would have done the song myself. But yeah, it's one of those days where it was a struggle to get out of bed. The true MVPs, the true superheroes are those who brace the weather. If you don't have a vehicle and you had to jump taxis along to get to your place of work today, in spite of the weather, and you got there in good time, I doff my hat. You guys, man, you've got something extra. I just didn't think I had this morning because I had to talk myself in and snooze a bit longer today. Perfect weather for that. But thank you very much for being with us from the start of the morning show to this very moment. And I'm excited to be here with you today. My name is Kimberly. Wachku, call me Kim, the Oracle, the digital Oracle, that is, OTF, the fellow Chanyawa Madam Speaker, Okrora one, and I'll say yes to them all. And I'll be here till 7-ish as we engage in some very productive time together, looking at some of the big stories driving conversation in the country. For example, do you think that borrowing under this administration is strategic and not reckless? Because that's what the APC is saying, responding to the criticism put out by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last election, Peter Obi, and a lot of Nigerians who've been criticizing the government for its excessive borrowing. And the government like, no. There's a lot of wisdom in what we're doing. All of the money is going into something very critical. Well, we'll talk about that as much as we'd also get what the big issue is around becoming an OB of something. I mean, in Ghana, they had a massive protest on the streets of Accra because some group of people wanted to impose a traditional title on themselves. And they were like, who are these Nigerians coming in here and giving themselves some relevance and title? Do your business and then, maintain your lane, like we love to say here. But if it's happening within your own country, how much of a big deal is it? The police has arrested a self-acclaimed OB of Lagos and Halt a planned coronation. So we'll be looking at that also. And also a big issue for Nigeria, which is the early campaigns. Remember, when we started talking about it, a lot of people were vexed. I'm like, why are we talking about campaign when the focus should be on governance? Too early in the day. I agreed with you from the jump, but I said it started already. And I'm seeing door-to-door campaign, Governor Tumpolo. I'm seeing Tinubu for 2027, and I'm seeing quite a number of other groups forming coalition. I'm saying the stage is set. But why is it happening too early? And what does the law say about that? We'll talk about these and more on the Big Three. 4 o'clock, Dr. Jake Ekpele and a few others will join us because they set up a committee to look into JAM's activity, the examinations more like, and uncovered some very interesting findings as to what is responsible for some of the rots that they've dealt with over time in JAM, and particularly the last examination where it found that parents are complicit in some of the malpractices. So we're talking with the committee members, and I will have guests from Nigerian Health Watch at the 5 o'clock hour join me. So the show is going to be packed and a lot to look at today. Mr. Raji from Duce says, so we will no get car, we no be MVP. I say now will be the true superheroes. Oh, you guys are the brave ones. You guys are the ones to fix this country. You entered this rain and went to work in good time and early. Boy. Tope, I see you. All right, I'm not by myself. I've got Mr. Emmanuel Ozemina with me in the studio. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah,
delighted to see you.
Kim. It's a rainy day.
Yes, it is.
I remember those songs several years ago. It should have been rain,
go
away.
I bet there were a lot of people who sang it. I was not one of them. I was like, let it rain, let it rain, let it rain. That's the song for me today.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there were a lot of people like rain, go away. I have to go to work or school or something.
Yeah, but I think it's okay because we need to increase commodities, bring down price of agriculture. Perhaps
I agree with
we
you.
need rain for harvest.
Yeah, and on the flip side, this rainy season can make Abuja show itself that it is a very dirty capital. We have fancy roads, but very dirty city. From Life Camp to Gwarimpa. Gwarimpa is a nightmare. So I think it's one of the dirtiest area of Abuja right now, honest to God. Uncollected refuse and all of that. So, when the rain starts to fall, just remember how it is outside.
Yeah, but sometimes you think, what does the Abuja environmental do? I mean, that's clearly what it is. They need to be up to their
Why
job.
are they not collecting it as often as they should, more than ever in this weather?
I don't know, but they should do their job.
All right. Abuja Environmental Protection Agency, do your job. That's it. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right, there's so much to look at today, but just before we delve right into our own big issues in Nigeria, I mean, wondering, you followed the shooting of Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. Like,
Yeah.
someone I'm not related to, I was a
Absolutely,
tad,
absolutely,
shocked by it. I
absolutely.
mean,
It's
sad.
incidentally, he was a young man with a purpose at 18, setting up Turning Point USA at age 18, and his demise came at 31. So you could say visionary, purposeful, clear, and impactful. I mean, people
And highly controversial.
No.
Also. I mean, it felt like
no, he isn't. I mean, in the U.S., incidentally, people have rights to express
True.
their opinion. A conservative leader shouldn't be as much controversial as
a liberal.
a liberal, a liberal. So it's to allow all flowers to flourish.
It's really,
Yeah. For me, people who can't engage in debate are cowards.
And you know, that is what he's known for. All the way I followed him, I've just known him as the man who will say, see, guys. And that's why he goes to campuses.
Yeah.
And gathering, he says, see, let's talk about this in one-on-one. Bring your argument, I bring my argument.
50 chapters across campuses in the United States. And if universities, can no longer tolerate ideas, tolerate debate, then shut them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Sadly.
I saw a video of a university, I think one of the universities where he's to speak in a few days' time on the 30th or so, saying he shouldn't come. And lecturers were leading it. I say, these guys are not intellectuals. They are cowards. Because if you can't debate, if you can't flourish in the marketplace of ideas, then you have no business being in the university system. That's exactly what it is. Because what you call universities is actually about debate. I've said severally, the idea of universities were started by Socrates. Come to the market square to argue your issue, to discuss your point, to present your logic. In fact, what you have as legal profession today started with sophists. What they do is, if there's an argument, they would say, pay me, I will argue for you. I will advance your logic. And that's essentially what lawyers do. Because you could see a lawyer for APC today, tomorrow, he's defending. So it's all, where are you looking at it? So if we can no longer tolerate conversation, debate, then we have no business calling ourselves democracy or civilization. And incidentally, the worst part of it today is 9/11. At the moment, the names of the victims, over 1,800 victims, are being read, representing the entire continent. People who died in that horrific incident in 2001. So it's a very solemn moment. And incidentally, a day before today, a renegade, gets up somewhere and say, look, you can't argue. It's cowards who can't argue. It's cowards who resort to violence. Anytime anybody resorts to violence, he is a coward.
Well, it's a sad one, and I hear the perpetrator hasn't been arrested because the man they took apparently isn't the one. So they're still looking for the shooter. I hope they find he or she.
No, may God rest his soul. But it's an impactful life at 31 across
all over the world. Everybody knows
across the United States as we speak today. The flag are flying at half-mast for a 31-year-old leader whose life was cut short.
A sad one. Leaving behind 2 children, I hear, and his wife, and quite a very sad one. But honest to God, I didn't even understand why some people felt. I felt like he's arguing intellectual debate. He didn't even go to college. He went to high school. So he said, I'm going to come to your campus. You say you have issues around, you want liberty around your sexuality or abortion right or the Middle East crisis.
Let's talk about it.
Let us talk about it.
Yeah.
And that is all. And I thought it was always very refreshing to hear some of his arguments. I don't quite agree with her. Like, where is he coming from? But I always listen because of the brilliance of it. And I thought he had quite an interesting argument.
The essence of civilization we have today is simply we can rub minds, we can exchange ideas, we can argue, we can debate. Indeed. So when people resort to violence, they are weak. It's a sign of weakness, and it's a sign of cowardice.
All right, side of the story talking about Charlie Kirk, who was shot while he was giving one of his interesting debates in the University of Utah. And he was shot, rushed to the hospital, sadly confirmed dead at the age of 31. He's been known to have very, conservative, strong opinion that some people enjoy and others
in fact, in 2024 election, he was able to mobilize young people, convince them that Donald Trump is the man to vote for. I mean, he's one of the leaders of the MAGA movement.
Well, may his soul rest in peace, and I'm sure a lot of people want to see the group or the person behind it, and they'll be brought to book. Well, let's come back home to Nigeria because there's so much to look at back home also. The All Progressive Congress in Lagos State says that borrowing under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is indeed to fund development through the construction of critical infrastructure. The APC spokesperson, Mr. Sheye Oladejo, in a statement titled Peter Obi's Borrowing Hypocrisy, Physician Heal Thyself, on Thursday, berated the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate's criticism of Tinubu's borrowing. According to report, the former Anambra governor had called on accountant to confront the Tinubu federal government over what he called reckless borrowing. And Oladejo advised Obi to play to his strength in politics as topic bordering of finance, economy, development, and social policy remains in the enduring handicap. And according to him, borrowing under the present administration is strategic, tied to projects and funding of productive sector. First, borrowing is not inherently reckless. What matters is purpose and prudence. Under Tinubu, the borrowing is strategic. We've seen it under infrastructure, energy, transport, and productive sectors. This is the globally accepted practice. Even the most advanced economies borrow to fund growth. Secondly, Peter Obi has no moral authority to lecture anyone about prudence. And he went on that trajectory also. But he didn't quite give the breakdown as to where the productive ventures have been, enough for Nigerians to appreciate where he was coming from, because there are quite a number of people who hold the view that the borrowing of the government is reckless and excessive, and that we should, tone it down and find other means of even getting some of these projects done. Well, on one hand, we don't want extra taxes, because if you're saying don't borrow, it means tax us to death. I don't want to be taxed extra. I also have my reservation about your borrowing. So how is Nigeria going to generate more money? That's why we need to put our thinking cap on and say, okay, this is a new organic way of making money. But what's your opinion on this?
Well, I think the APC Lagos chapter, clearly they are doing their job, which is also to defend, clearly they are there to defend their party. I mean, it's within their democratic right, and that's what they should be doing. And Peter Obi on his right, on the other side, mind you, Peter Obi didn't say he's a saint, but he's an opposition leader. And what do opposition leaders do? Providing alternative views. Yeah. And that's what Peter is doing. I mean, for Peter, he thinks, look, I've got a better idea how to raise funds. I've got a better idea what we should borrow for and what we shouldn't borrow for. I mean, he's been very consistent in terms of providing the alternative policy, because that's essentially what opposition do. In fact, under what you call a parliamentary system of government, you have what is called shadow cabinet in the parliament, recognized. Like Kemi, out there, the leader of the Conservative Party in the UK is actually the leader of the shadow government. A shadow government, it sits there. If you have 15 ministers, you also have 15 shadow ministers. The idea is simply this: critique, interrogate every single policy of the government in power, because the pendulum could shift tomorrow. And usually when the pendulum shifts, the shadow ministers automatically most times get the other ministry, because you've paid attention to that sector, you become some sort of an expert, so you could provide guidelines. All the alternative policy formulations you had set up, you begin to implement them. Like the current Secretary of Commonwealth Foreign and Development Office, it's currently used to be the Labour Shadow Minister, but today he sits in there as the FDO, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office Secretary. So that's what it is. So the APC Lagos chapter had done their job, but I also expect the people who are appointed by the president, his spokesperson, the ministers. I thought the Minister of Finance should have been talking on this borrowing and say, this is what we borrowed for, this is where it is. Nigerians, could you track it? Because that's part of governance, is actually engagement. On a daily basis, you need to keep the people you're governing, keep them abreast of your policies, impact, and why you're taking those decisions. And when the opposition on the other side, including citizens group, also have a right to disagree with you. The challenge is that we all want to practice democracy, but we are afraid of facing the scrutiny that comes with democracy. But what it means is that every single decision you take would be discussed. You're going to have people who agree with you and people who disagree with you. And because every party, at the moment, I think we have about 18 or 19 registered political parties. Each of them, it's a potential party that can run Nigeria. That's the implication. So what it means is that each of them would want to also participate in that public engagement. So perhaps so the moment you say Peter Obi has no moral authority, that is actually fallacious because he's an opposition leader. Opposition leaders actually have no other job than to critique. Recall when PDP was in power. We had Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who was a spokesperson of the opposition party, and he did that job very well.
Let's go on a very quick break, and we'll take it up from there.
I'm so happy!
Oh, you mean?
This is Nigeria Info.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Nwachukwu. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk. About the borrowing of this government, and just so you know, it's the big three on Nigeria Info FM. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube. Facebook is at Nigeria Info Abuja. YouTube the same, at Nigeria Info Abuja, and you can tweet at us at X at Nigeria Info ABJ is our X handle, so I'll be looking out for your tweet there. I see quite a number of messages in already. We'll take them in a bit. Javier is better now, just a mild holdback of the audio quality. Please let us know if you can hear us crystal clear wherever you are. Mr. Emmanuel Zemena is with me in the studio, so yes, we're talking about Lai Mohammed.
So on the issue of moral authority, that Peter Obi has no moral authority, that's actually fallacious. He's got it because he's an opposition leader. So he's doing his job. Whether for the APC Lagos, they also should keep doing what they are doing. That's because that's what they're expected to do, to defend the APC government. I just said before we went on this break that, Lai Mohammed did his job efficiently as spokesperson of the opposition party.
Okay, opposition party.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're going to say that when he became Minister of Information.
No.
I felt like there were lots of lines
Nigerians have a right to judge him.
Opposition, yes.
Yeah. But as opposition leader, because they kept PDP, whether it's Jonathan's government, Yar'Adua's government, on their toes. And that's essentially what opposition party does. And that's what they're opposition on the other side. It means opposite side. That's simply what opposition is. The other side. Because on the politicals, you have two spectrum, this side and the other side. So bringing alternative views, bringing alternative perspectives to the conversation and debate about policies and governance. So, but also, I would have been, like you rightly said, it would have been very interesting for APC Lagos, if I was working for them, if I was their consultant, we're going to list these infrastructures and their benefits. But I didn't see that happen. No. You could even list about 4 of such and say, yeah, and this is even you can even do a projection over the next 50 years. What will be the impact? So, but the point is that in Nigeria, politicians are not detailed. And if you try to be detailed, they are going to say, oh, you're bringing in statistics. But at the end of the day, decisions you take, policies you make will end up as statistics. How many jobs is this decision going to create? How many people will it elevate? How will it scale up school enrollment? Assuming currently we have 100,000, over the next 5 years, over the next 4 years, we're going to have 2 million. So the moment you are not able to speak to data in policy, if you can't align policies to data, then it means you're on the wrong trajectory. That's simply what it is. Because for me, at each point in time you're taking a decision, I'm going to ask you, what would be the output? Because the investment you're making is the input. What will be the output? What will be the impact? Then what will be the overall projection over the next 5 years, 10 years, 50 years? Because countries think ahead. Before now, we used to have what they call development plan. It used to be 5 years development plan. And you could say over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, we need to have, because we expect to have XYZ 10% population growth in FCT. And this is what we're going to do. Let's take FCT, for instance. City Center, what you call phase 1, they had projected 338,000 people. That was the projection. The infrastructure is made to carry that number. You have phase 2, phase 3, but we by next year we would have done 50 years of FCT. So can we sit down and say how much of those projections we did were actually futuristic? Today, there's what they call feature studies. In fact, it's a specialized studies in the universities across the world. I mean, you have consultants who work on feature studies. Countries, policies, companies are looking over the next 50 years, what do we need to do? How do we need to find ourselves within the industry in terms of competition, in terms of the number of the consumers within that sector that are on our side? How do we innovate? So we must begin to bring in policy making at the level of innovation. But what we do most times is, I mean, people just think about, I have a tenure of 4 years. In 4 years, I will be out of here. Or at most, I get a second tenure. And what happens? Then the country can burn. That's not the way you take decisions. Decisions are futuristic. So we must begin to, in fact, for me, I would recommend people who are in government, especially the bureaucracy, they should take a study in future studies, because that's where the world is heading to. No. But the removal of subsidy on its own, I have said severally. Remember? Yeah. No. For me, I have done quite a lot of studies on subsidy. The debate about subsidy, if you ask me, is actually a distraction. That's one. Number two, the idea of subsidy were actually designed by the Washington Consensus. Who are the Washington Consensus? You're talking about IMF and World Bank. They are essentially the people who designed it. It's not only in Nigeria, across developing countries. It started several years ago, and they are still pushing it. But again, in the West, I mean, in Europe and America, do they have subsidy? And what do they subsidize? Do they still subsidize stuff for their citizens as we speak now? They do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but because they control these big institutions, and you need money from these institutions, they say, look, this is a condition on which, I mean, this loan or whatever is going to be predicated. So we need to understand that as a fact. If we understand it, we can now get to another level of the argument and say, look, what should we put the investment in? That's another level of the argument. But the point is that you can't tell me subsidy is because you are borrowing to do subsidy. It can be. Okay, how come subsidy has been removed and we're still borrowing? So it shows you essentially that's not the logic. So, but the point is that in policy making, we should think about the future, we should think about tomorrow, and we should think about the next generation.
All right, thinking about the next generation there concerning our borrowing. Okay. Sorry about that. Just a little technical stuff to get to address in the studio. For those who are watching on YouTube and wondering why it's keep moving, that's why. Okay, then. Moving on to the next story. The Lagos State Police Command has arrested a 65-year-old man, Chibike Azubike, for allegedly parading himself as the Obi of Lagos. He was apprehended alongside 3 alleged accomplices while attempting to stage an unlawful unveiling ceremony. The arrest comes against the backdrop of growing ethnic tension, particularly amongst youth, on various social media platforms who exchange banter over Azubike's planned installation. Azubike, said to be an indigene of
Podoku.
In Idiato North, local government area of Imo State, was arrested with Chief Chibuzo Ani, 57, Chief Martin Wodika, 65, and Ikechukwu Franklin, 41. The 4 of them are currently being held at the command headquarters in Ikeja. And I know that quite a number of statements has been put out by some Lagosians who feel like, who is this person? How dare you just give yourself a title and declare yourself Obi of Lagos? And a lot of you have studied also to the need to make Obi of, is it Ghana, that led Ghanaians on the street to protest and all of that. But you could argue what it means for a different country altogether, to saying who authorized you to give yourself that level of relevance and title in another man's country. But do we even have a law, a regulation as to people waking up on a group deciding to just give some sort of recognition or relevance to a particular person? Can you do it just arbitrarily and just go somewhere and decide, I'm going to be the new Kim One of Abuja, and people have to recognize it?
Okay. Essentially, I saw, I think a few days ago, I saw the invitation for this event on social media. I'm sure you also saw it. It's been flying around social media. So this morning, when I heard about the arrest and all that, the only thing I said is, let's watch this drama unfold. Yeah, because, let's look at Ghana. Someone wakes up and say, I want to be the Obi or Igwe of Ghana.
Yeah.
Does it mean anything? It means nothing, if you ask me. Because who is he going to be, Igwe or whatever, over? Perhaps
Nigerians who were there.
No.
It was such a big deal enough for Ghanaians to protest.
No. Incidentally, I followed that Ghana, altercation. I thought, in my view, simply some social media influencers were trying to chase clout. That's essentially what it is. It was clout chasing. Because, in fact, in one of his speeches, the Obi of Ghana was speaking Igbo, and another person tried to interpret it And incidentally, he couldn't even get the proper interpretation, obviously over limited education. It's an Igbo man trying to interpret what he said, but obviously because of his limited use of or understanding of English language, he muddled up the entire thing, but the thing kept trending. So the point is this. I've not seen the entire charges. I'm sure they will be taking the alleged Obi of Lagos to court. I'm sure we're going to see the...
It'd be nice to know what the charge is. It's like you do not have the authority, or it's a criminal offense to organize an event and a coronation of some sort and give yourself a title. That it needs. I need to understand it, because you could easily do that and still have no relevance in the state because you're not recognized by the state. It's just your group, it's just your small autonomous community who recognize you.
It could even because there's already an Ezendibo of Lagos I'm aware of, and that Ezendibo tradition has been there over time. Let me give you the idea of the entire thing about Ezendibo or Oba of Yoruba or whatever outside their environment. The entire idea could have been initially to promote some sort of a cultural unification among people from those ethnic groups. In the real sense, does it really does anybody pay them salary? Does anybody give them recognition? Does it really matter?
It's not going to be recognized by the local government of the state or the state or anywhere.
I have a friend who is an Ezendibo in one of the countries. I think in one of the Central African countries. And he has lived there for over 30 years. So what he does, because he's like a community leader, they now say, okay, become our leader. That's essentially what it is.
But Mr. Zomena, this also raises a lot of questions, and for me, a lot of red flags about Nigeria.
Okay.
I'm particularly concerned that we're dealing with a generation of younger Nigerians who have carried up this ethnic championing agenda to a problematic level. We saw it in the last election, particularly in Lagos State. The Yoruba, Igbo dynamics played out really well.
Yeah.
To a point where you just feel like, oh, this group of people, they don't belong here. How can they want to get themselves that kind of relevance here and stuff like that? I think we need to address it now before it gets out of hand.
Incidentally, you have a generation who have no history, because history is taking off the curriculum.
Good thing is bad.
Let me give you an example.
But I don't know how much history they teach in school enough for it to even alter anything.
I grew up in Onitsha. In the 70s, within my area, we had Sarikin Hausawa in Onitsha. In fact, his house is number 1 Kanu Street in Onitsha, opposite the main market, opposite Onitsha main market. And the man was born in Onitsha, and the man had lived there. I think he should be in his 80s at the moment, or thereabouts. He was born in Onitsha, and he doesn't know Kanu, where he comes from. But he's a Sarikin Hausa, because anybody from the north who comes to Onitsha will go to his house, will go for advice, will go for, so he provides leadership. And we also have the leader of the Yorubas in Onitsha. So the point is simply this. If communities say we are coming together to have a leader who would, so that even when they have internal, kids and kin.
Yeah.
So all over at this point in time in the US, all over the US, you see, I have a classmate who is an Igala. He just posted the other day, they held the Igala convention in the US. Igbo people are doing their own, communities are doing their own.
It will be easier for Nigerians to do this outside Nigeria than within Nigeria. That's the issue that I'm raising right now.
When I said history, because we are a country that have no history. In every community, you see people gather, appoint a leader, and what do they do? When one is in trouble, they come to his support. These are community associations. So, and those community associations are just within those enclave, those, people who are concerned. So, if you appoint yourself chief of Igala, I'm not an Igala, so I have no business with it.
State doesn't pay you. We're not going to invite you for anything.
Yeah, but the point
we don't
is that
recognize you.
Perhaps because of some of these cultural associations actually also mixed it when they got involved in politics. When they begin to endorse candidates. So that could have raised some sort of tension okay, who are they going to endorse today or in the next election or for the next...
At the end of the day, it's all tied to the 2027 election.
No. I think it's politics that destroyed that ethnic harmony. It's politics that destroyed that brotherhood. Where I grew up, in fact, the first set of people I met as a young man growing up were people who were not Igbos. There were Yorubas, there were Igala, there were Nupes, there were Hausas, there were Fulanis. There were people who lived on my street. So what I'm saying essentially is that we must come to a point where we had to restore missing link of brotherhood.
All right.
We need to bring it back.
Okay, then.
But let's watch how this unfolds.
All right, then. Nigerians, you have your say in a few minutes what you make of it. Clems on Facebook says, all right, well done work. Thank you very much, sir. Mike from Senior, your mic is faulty. Well, for those of you who can look into the they can see the engineer working on the other mic. I'd had to move to his second mic to get that sorted out. Thank you for all those who pointed it out. It's being worked on. Please help us tell APC and Mr. President that it's only them that are seeing the impact of their borrowing. Imagine borrowing for our unborn generation to pay. Unacceptable. Stephen Trust Duru, we see you also and your comment. And Enyi says, you're far from the mic, not hearing you. I'm away from that problematic mic to a different one. And the engineer is working on it as we speak. I hope this is a lot better now, isn't it? It is, yeah? All right. If it's not, please let me know. And let's look at one more story, which is the matter of the challenges around premature campaign. And the Electoral Institute, alongside INEC, organized a workshop, a roundtable with stakeholders to come and interface. I mean, I was there yesterday, from the JGAD to ARCON to, the security agencies and all of that, having a piece of it to saying what exactly is going on. This particular one, I remember when we started talking about election early this year. I remember, why are we talking about 2027 and not focusing on governance? The entire atmosphere felt charged up talking about an election that, by provision of our laws, the Electoral Act shouldn't have even started. Why am I driving around the city and I'm seeing neighbor to neighbor, Tinubu for 2027, Tompolo, and I'm seeing different people putting up billboards, putting up posters, and telling me that a president that I'm not sure of just yet, based on his performance, should continue in 2027. I thought it was too soon. The man has to earn his place on the ballot in 2027. And it's a little too soon in the day. And then the opposition took also the baton and ran with it to saying, let's form coalition. Peter Obi says, I am in the race, automatically setting the stage for his campaign. Atiku says, I'm out of the PDP, I'm now with ADC, I'm interested in 2027, automatically setting the stage for his campaign. Yeah. And it just feels like, all right, let's go out, let's go mad at this point in time. Even though the Electoral Act stipulates the number of days before election that campaign can start, and when it ends, 24 hours to the election, why is it that in spite of the provisions that we're starting a little too early and nobody reined it into saying, focus more on governance issue and less on the politicking. Until now, thanks to the Electoral Institute, thanks to INEC to saying, all right, I mean, the former INEC chairman was there, Jagan. He was in a state of, how they say in Hausa Mamaki. Like, what is going on? Too early in the day. We need to do something about it. But I even think it's coming a little too late. Good that the intervention is coming, but we allowed it to go on for too long. Campaign started too early.
No, campaign hasn't started.
Campaign.
Can you prove it?
See, Mr. Izomina.
Okay.
I see a poster.
Okay.
I see a huge billboard telling me this man is there in 2027.
Who is putting the
third party? No. Third party. And I'm glad that the police is saying that we're going to go after third party campaigns.
No, for the action of a third party, you can't hold a PC.
I agree.
You can't hold the president accountable.
Maybe
for
hold
an
the
action
third party.
of a third party. Let me tell you the way it works. In November 2020, the day President Donald Trump lost election, the next day he began a thank you visit across the United States. And between that day and the election, the last campaign stomp, he had almost 300 meetings across the United States. There's no state he didn't visit, the 50 states. There are some cities he visited more than 5 times. And today he's the president. But the point is this. You can't hold President Bola Tinubu accountable for an action of a third party, if that billboard, no, hold on. If the billboard reads APC Presidential Campaign Council, then you can now hold them accountable. But what you call support groups, you also can't stop them from talking about their candidates or their preference. He's not a support group is not on the ballot. Mm-hmm. It's not a political party. So it's not applying to you for registration. So you can't stop him. He's simply, and the Constitution says you can express your opinion. So what they are simply doing, whether supporters of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu or supporters of Peter Obi or supporters of Atiku, are simply expressing their opinion, canvassing and disseminating. So they can hide under freedom of expression. So if you go to court as an INEC, you lose the case. Mm. They didn't say, oh, vote him on election 2027. They are saying he has done well and therefore deserves. So it's an expression of opinion. The point is this. Like I said, we want to be a democratic country, want to be a civilized country, want to be a nation that engages in liberal democracy. Liberal democracy, incidentally, is one of the biggest things that whoever has given to the world. So you can't stop people from expressing.
Let's also look at the ripple effect. They're entitled to it.
Yeah.
And if advertising can't, or whoever is in charge of the billboard allows them to put it up, perhaps and it's a good thing that it was a healthy mix of stakeholders that came there, even from the Advertisers Practitioner Council, Registration Council, to saying, maybe, just maybe, we need to check some of these.
Are you saying if supporters of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu feels he has done well and they put up a billboard to showcase his achievement, can you stop them? The answer is no. Under freedom of expression in the 1999 Constitution, they are saying we've spotted a man who is in government, and he's doing well, and see the result. I mean,
but you could also put it there without, subconsciously. It's not a subconscious. It's very deliberate saying he's done all of these things that you may or may not agree with, but he's the man for this job in 2027.
No. The point
and then
there is
you also bring in you're extending the conversation beyond your opinion to making people perhaps chase this particular idea and the narrative, not focusing on the other thing, to saying, all right, we're coming on radio and people are calling and say, I don't think he's the man for it. It has to be Peter Obi, it has to be Atiku and all of that. We've charged up the place.
No. Can I tell you something about democracy?
There's a lot to talk about democracy that we're not even doing right.
A day after the election, the next campaign begins. That's a rule.
No.
That's
not
rule.
Officially. Not by our laws.
Because the people who do
not
it.
By the Electoral Act.
I've told you, third parties are people.
Not by the Electoral Act, Mr. Ozemena. Your campaign cannot.
No. The Electoral Act regulates. You know who the Electoral Act regulates? The political parties.
Maybe we need to amend then. No. Because we don't need the unhealthy distraction at this point in time.
The Electoral Act can only regulate political parties that will come to it to apply for registration. So if I'm a support group for President Tinubu and I say, oh, he has done well, you can't stop me from expressing my views. Because under the Constitution, I'm protected. Freedom to hold opinion and promote it. That's one.
Right.
But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not put up his poster and say signed by.
Most definitely.
APC will not do it.
I mean, the former CBN governor, wherever he is, under his own case, had vehicles branded, and he said he wasn't the one, that it was overzealous supporters or whoever were putting it there.
But for actions of third party, you can't hold a candidate or a politician
But you can hold third party, can't you? Because the police is now saying, who are these people putting up all of these things? Because we know it does cost a lot of...
It will end up in the court. Because court will rule, do people have a right to hold political opinions and express it?
Why are you overly excited enough to splash it all over the place?
No, it's their right.
I agree.
And they've paid for the space. No, the point is this. We must come to the point, if anybody in government who is an elected official who wants to win the next election would work hard to produce results.
But are you also...
And when you produce this result, you want to advertise it. I mean...
But Mr. Ozemena, you know that when it comes to campaign financing, we've not addressed that aspect. It's something that we don't talk about. I feel it's a huge elephant.
No, but that's what INEC should be concentrating on, not whether people are campaigning or not.
It's all part of it, Mr. Ozemena. When we talk about campaign financing, when you start early before...
If you ask me, what does INEC want to do? Create a distraction. That's for me. It's a distraction they are creating.
We're distracted already.
No, because...
We are distracted from governance with the politics of things.
People who are elected in government are focusing to deliver results.
And who is to say 100 that we're not getting underhand funding of this third-party campaign coming from state?
Provide the evidence. Do you have the evidence?
All right. I'm glad I'm not in court at this point in time because I have nothing to show, but just I'm a Nigerian. I've lived long enough to know.
But I think INEC should concentrate on their core job. And it's there. And they know it. But because they are not doing their core job, they want to create a distraction.
Perhaps that's why the Electoral Institute is the one bringing it up. And there's room for intellectual debate and conversation about some of anomalies.
I wish I was there.
Because it was not really about INEC. It was about the Electoral Institute and it's well within their mandate.
I would have asked the INEC chairman, I said, sir, how do I express my political opinion? How do I hold opinion?
All right.
Freedom of expression.
Let's go. I don't know where time went. It went by really fast. And we will just take some very quick comments and phone calls. Keep it short, 30 seconds, straight to the point. We don't have all the time, okay? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm Professor Modi. I'm calling you the Federal Housing.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I don't even know. Sometimes I get a little bit confused because I don't even know how to attack Nigerian issues. Let me first of all, we will talk about the electoral thing you just mentioned last week.
Sir, you've got 30 seconds, please.
It's telling you that a third party cannot be held responsible for an action using somebody's name. I don't think I agree with that. Yeah, and again, I also want to suggest that, or input that some kind of action can be sponsored directly or indirectly. And again, we have covert and overt behavior. The body language shows where it's coming from. And psychologically, without even going into legal contact.
All right, sir.
Yes, I think that is my opinion.
Thank you very much for sharing your take with us. Let's hear another caller. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
My name is Rev. Peter Ifeanyi Uzokwe.
All right, Mr. Peter Ifeanyi Uzokwe, go ahead. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I have been listening to your conversation with my brother in the studio, or maybe to a phone call conversation. And I want to tell him that what he's saying is wrong. You can't hide under freedom of expression to perpetuate an offense that is punishable by law. Remember that where your rights stop, that is where another one person begins. So, flooding Abuja with a 2027 campaign, and you are telling me that it's just for support group is wrong. If you can't get the support group,
all right, sir.
The action of an agent is being held, the principal is being held responsible for that.
Thank you very much, sir.
You cannot indirectly be sponsoring campaign and be telling me that what if other candidates back their own? Is it not a provocative advertisement?
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Kim. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Zemene. A number of topical issues. Your outing today has been quite enlightening. Well done, sir. I disagree with a number of issues. I agree with a number of issues. There is not enough time. My name is Gerald, by the way. But let me take the last one first.
Mr. Zemene is spot on. Mr. Zemene is correct. You can regulate political parties, but you cannot regulate an innumerable, an uncountable number of groups of persons that support particular candidate because they are endless. If INEC goes there, like Mr. Ozemene said, is going to be all over the place because you cannot 100% checkmate it. Let's take, for instance, a government in power cites a project. Everything is politics. You go to commission it, some people attend, and then they say, hey, up Tinubu, for example, up APC, whether you like it or not, that's supporting, APC and Tinubu. Are you going to stop them from expressing themselves freely in excitement at the launch of a project? If you go there, the list of what becomes, early campaigns or illegal campaigns will never end. Let me give you one instance and I end. On this family station, Kim, supporters of P2B, them plenty here. When they call throughout this year, many times they make comments that are the same thing that people that gather in certain venues make. Are we going to hold them responsible? Finally, even P2B and other politicians, whether we are deceiving, we can deceive ourselves. But when you go to other states, donate 5 million, you go to another state, donate million, that is subtle campaign. We all know it.
All right,
subtle
thank you.
Campaign.
Thank you very much.
Deceiving ourselves.
Thank you very much. We do have guests joining us, Mr. Jake Ekpele, and a few others who join us after the news, so perhaps not enough time. But Mr. Ozemena, 30 seconds quickly, your final thoughts.
On their job, and they know their core job.
But this is the Electoral Institute.
It's a distraction, clearly distraction. Let them focus on their job.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. The Electoral Institute, I think it was a brilliant conversation on the premature campaign, but it gives room for more debate, and I see that there's a lot to unpack from it. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Ozemena. I truly enjoyed the conversation today. I look forward to having you again next Thursday.
This is Nigeria Info.